The billionaire CEO mocks his employees' clothes, but then he's left speechless. The boardroom felt like a pressure cooker, the tension almost palpable. Nathan Parker stood at the head of the table, the sharp edges of his perfectly tailored suit gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. He exuded authority, every inch the billionaire CEO with his expensive watch ticking down the seconds as if counting the moments before he struck. He swept his gaze around the room, taking notes on the anxious faces of his employees, each one bracing themselves for the inevitable bite of his words. Then, his eyes landed on Emma Rogers. Oh, Emma. She wore a thrift shop sweater that hung loosely on her frame, its vibrant colors clashing in a way that would make any fashion critic gasp. But there was something about her eclectic style, the mismatched patterns and chunky shoes, that told a different story. One of fierce individuality. Emma, Nathan started, his voice oozing mockery. I see you've brought a little bit of the flea market to the boardroom today. How charming. Laughter erupted around the table, a chorus of nervous giggles that echoed off the stark walls. The heat rushed to her cheeks, embarrassment flooding her with a sharp sting. But then she surprised everyone. At least I'm not wearing a costume borrowed from a corporate catalog. Fashion is meant to be fun, Nathan, not just about pinstripes and perfect cuts. Her voice was steady, yet something in her sparked, igniting the room with a fresh pulse of energy. He was momentarily taken aback, his sharp veneer cracked just enough to let the faintest hint of intrigue peek through. The boardroom fell silent, staring at Emma, whose thrift shop style had somehow roared back at the very empire that normally ate away at her creativity. Nathan felt the tightness in his chest as he struggled to regain his footing. Her courage had thrown him, but he couldn't let it show. Yet beneath the surface, a storm began to brew. As Emma retreated from that confrontation, she stumbled upon something nobody was meant to see. Hidden files, whispered conversations, a world of deceit racked in glossy presentations and smiling faces, codes to cover tracks and numbers that didn't add up. With each piece of information she uncovered, her heart pounded harder. This empire, built on shadowy practices, could wield its consequences for everyone involved, including her. Conflicted, Emma felt a knot twist in her stomach. What if she exposed Nathan? Would it harm their newfound connection? Did their animosity evolve into something softer beneath all the bravado? He had mocked her, yet here was a man whose empire was crumbling behind a shining facade. As the day dragged on, the tension thickened like a fog that wouldn't lift. Nathan's superficial confidence began to unravel, revealing a man wrestling not just with the facade he projected, but with feelings that rose unbidden toward Emma, a flicker of admiration and maybe something more. Emma faced her own turmoil. Should she reveal the dark secrets of the company she was starting to feel a part of, risking everything? Or should she turn a blind eye, preserving her fragile connection with the man who once dismissed her as nothing but a joke? The air crackled with unsaid words and unresolved tension, leaving both of them standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between loyalty and ambition, danger and desire. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The air in the boardroom crackled with unresolved tension, every unsaid word hanging like a heavy mist. Emma glanced at Nathan, his expression a mask of simmering conflict and something else. Was it admiration? She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. But then, without warning, the room darkened. It wasn't just the overhead. Lights flickering. Something felt off. A collective gasp rippled through the employees. The glass walls of the boardroom trembled slightly, as if responding to an unseen force. Suddenly, the door burst open, and in stormed a figure cloaked in shadow. It was guarded, wearing a hood that obscured their face. They had an electric energy surrounding them, charged and fierce. "Nathan Parker," the voice rang out, sharp and accusatory. "You think you can hide from your past?" Emma's heart raced. She felt the weight of the moment, her eyes darting between the intruder and Nathan, who now wore a mask of surprise that betrayed his confident demeanor. The laughter from moments ago evaporated, replaced by an eerie silence that wrapped everyone in uncertainty. "Who are you?" Nathan asked, his voice steady, but beneath it lay an edge of panic. The figure stepped closer, pulling down their hood to reveal a face that was hauntingly familiar. Emma felt her breath hitch. It was Sarah, Nathan's former partner, someone he had kept out of the corporate spotlight. Once regarded as a genius in their field, rumors swirled about her abrupt departure from the company, and betrayal echoed in the stories whispered around water coolers. "Sarah," Nathan breathed, incredulity seeping into his voice. "You shouldn't be here." "I shouldn't? After what you did? You think you can erase me and keep running this empire?" Her eyes blazed with fury, and for the first time, Emma saw cracks in Nathan's polished armor. This was a man cornered, someone who had fought hard to bury his past. But Sarah was an explosion ready to tear down every wall he had built. The tension among the employees reached a breaking point. Whispers of disbelief ricocheted off the walls. Emma felt a cold sweat gather at her temples, the weight of the incredible tension shifting. "What happened between you two?" Emma couldn't stop herself from asking, curiosity mingling with fear. Nathan shot her a glare. There was a flicker of something, perhaps desperation, in his eyes. "I was an obstacle," Sarah spat, bitterness tinging her voice. "Nathan killed the projects we worked on together and stole my ideas. I was too naive to see the truth until it was too late. But now it's time for you all to know the truth." The room fell into a deep silence, the kind that felt critical. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, a wild beat of anticipation mixed with dread. Sarah reached into her jacket, pulling out a flash drive, holding it up like a sword ready to slice through deception. "Here's the real story of this company. The numbers you've been relying on, lies. Corruption is buried in the foundation of everything." Her voice was steady, but Emma could see the pain behind it, a deep wound that cut beyond the surface. Emma looked at Nathan, his face a tempest of emotions, anger, fear, and dare she think, guilt. She felt the connection they had formed begin to crumble. What about their conversations? What about the admiration that had blossomed? "Don't listen to her," Nathan said suddenly. But even his voice shook, the confidence wavering. "Too late," Sarah retorted. "The truth is about to come out, Nathan. The world deserves to know." The stakes had shifted completely. That moment, the very ground they stood on felt unsteady. Emma's thoughts raced. This wasn't just a fight over clothes or style. This was an unraveling of lives, of dreams, of loyalties. And as she stood there, caught in the middle, she had to wonder, what would her choice be? Would she stand with Nathan, the man who once mocked her? Or would she follow Sarah, the symbol of truth and Ain? In that moment, the world narrowed into a singular focus, the echoes of impending chaos whispering in the corners of her mind. What would happen when the truth came crashing down? Would it destroy everything she had begun to believe? The room was charged, a grand stage where the fate of more than just careers rested on the fragile balance of lies and revelations. And all Emma could do was hold her breath, waiting for the next bomb to drop. The room hung heavy with suspense, every heartbeat echoing like a war drum. Emma felt an electric charge crackle through the atmosphere. Sarah's words hung in the air, thick like smoke. Nathan's gaze darted between Sarah and the employees, fear and desperation simmering beneath his polished exterior. Suddenly, the boardroom doors burst open again. A young man stumbled in, eyes wild, breathing heavy as though he had been running for his life. His shirt was torn, one shoe missing. "Stop! You can't do this," he yelled, voice cutting through the thick tension like a knife. Everyone turned, shock rippling through the room like a wave. Who was this guy? Emma strained to see his face. In the chaos, she thought she caught a glimpse of familiarity. "Jack?" she whispered, heart dropping. Jack, her college friend, who had once become inseparable from her during late-night study sessions and pizza runs. "Jack, what are you doing here?" she shouted, feeling the pulse of panic quicken in her veins. "You have to believe me. It's not just Nathan. They're all in on it." He took a step forward, the plea evident in his wide eyes. The room erupted. Whispers scattered, a panic setting in. "What do you mean?" Nathan's voice cracked. The composed CEO facade shattered into pieces. "What lies are you telling? I found proof, documents, transactions. Everything is a setup. Sarah was right." Jack's voice trembled, but rang with urgency. Heads whirled, confusion painting every face. Emma's stomach twisted. "Proof?" Emma felt a lump in her throat. "What proof?" "Like I would trust you, Jack," Nathan barked, his patience wearing thin. "You think you can waltz in here and upend everything I've built? You're a nobody." With that, Jack took a breath, steadied himself. "I might be a nobody, but I'm not the fool. This company isn't just stealing ideas, Nathan. They are laundering money, billions. People are counting on you to do the right thing, to stop them." Emma felt her blood run cold, and the color drained from Nathan's face. She could see the facade of confidence crumble, the truth clawing its way to the surface. Had she really underestimated the stakes? "Enough," Nathan yelled, panic lacing his voice. "You think you can walk in here and threaten me? You're done, Jack. You've crossed a line." "This isn't just about you," Jack cried, desperate. "It never was. This is about everyone you've hurt, every mistake you've made." Before Nathan could respond, a loud crash echoed through the room. The lights flickered ominously, plunging them into brief darkness before flickering back on. Sarah's eyes widened, and suddenly the glass walls rattled violently, as if the very building trembled in fear. "Just get out," Nathan yelled to Jack, but the words tasted sour on his tongue. But it was too late. The window shattered as if something had collided with them, the glass splintering into a million jagged pieces. Cries erupted, and bodies pushed against each other. Emma's heart raced, confusion and terror swimming in her thoughts. The chaos mirrored what was happening inside her. Stormy, tumble down, with no refuge in sight. Then, through the shards of flying glass, a figure appeared. This figure wasn't just a shadow. This was someone from Nathan's past, a man with dark eyes and a booming presence that sent chills down Emma's spine. "Looks like the party's just getting started, wouldn't you say, Nathan?" he said, a smirk curling his lips. "You thought you could bury the truth forever?" The air turned heavy, shockwaves pulsing through the room. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Who was this guy? How did he tie into Nathan's messy canvas? And why did he look so smug, like the gatekeeper of chaos, about to let loose? Nathan's face transformed, shock morphing into a sickly pallor. As he took a step back, a glimmer of fear flashed across his enigmatic facade. A ghost of past sins come to haunt him, and just like that, the stakes had risen sky high. Emma's mind raced. What was happening? She hadn't just stumbled onto a corporate battle. She had walked right into a den of buried secrets. The truth was unearthing itself. But were they ready for the fallout? With the newfound chaos, what lay ahead? Emma was no longer wondering who she could trust. She now had to fight, survive, and decide if she could uncover a shocking truth that could devour them all. How deep did this rabbit hole go? And what horrors awaited as they ventured further in? The room felt like it was about to explode. Emma couldn't tear her eyes away from the new figure. Shadowy reminder of Nathan's past. He stood there, a sinister grin forming as if he were reveling in the chaos. "Looks like the party's just getting started, wouldn't you say, Nathan?" The words dripped like venom. Nathan's bravado flickered. Uncertainty creased his brow. "What do you want?" he asked, the confident edge slipping from his tone. The man stepped into the harsh light, revealing a face Emma recognized from old company photos. It was Blaine. That name made her stomach twist. Nathan's notorious former mentor had been estranged for years. Rumors of corruption and betrayal surrounded him like a dark cloud. "Just here to remind everyone of the family business," Blaine replied, his voice smooth but laced with mockery. "You think you can build an empire without taking care of the foundation? Oh, Nathan, you've forgotten the basics." The boardroom buzzed with horrified whispers. Emma's heart raced, a cold chill tracing down her spine. What secrets lay buried in this foundation? Had Nathan built his success on lies, on broken backs and shattered dreams? "Stop this," Nathan warned, but there was a tremor beneath his words, a crack that revealed his fear. Emma caught the flicker of panic in his eyes, and suddenly everything she thought she knew teetered on the edge of madness. "Stop what? Distributing the truth?" Blaine laughed, a dark sound that echoed against the glass walls. "You turned your back on me, Nathan. You thought you could erase me forever. But I'm back, to reclaim what's mine." The tension smothered the air, wrapping around Emma's throat. Confusion mixed with fear, jolting through her veins like ice water. "What does he mean, reclaim what's yours?" she whispered to herself, panic clawing its way up her throat. She felt eyes on her, burning with mixed emotions. The employees were caught in the vortex of Nathan's collapse. Suddenly, Jack charged forward again, desperation etched on his face. "This isn't a game. Blaine has been pulling strings all along. You all think Nathan holds the power, but look deeper. He's just a puppet." Time froze. Emma's heart thudded painfully against her chest. The raw truth hit like a sledgehammer. Nathan wasn't just the villain, or the misunderstood hero. He was part of something darker, something far more twisted. She could see it in his eyes, the flicker of inadequacy. Was he not the architect, but merely a tool in this sick game? Blaine smirked, relishing the chaos. "Isn't that right, Nathan? Maybe if you'd kept your friends close instead of shoving them away, this wouldn't be happening." Before Nathan could respond, Blaine lunged forward, pointing an accusatory finger. "You don't remember your promises, do you? You put the company ahead of everything, even us. And now you'll pay dearly." The air crackled with tension, and suddenly, just as the scream built in Emma's throat, the lights went out completely. A pitch-black silence swallowed the room, every heartbeat in suspended time. Then an explosion. Not a loud bang, but a thunderous shatter. The walls trembled, glasses clattered off tables, and the screams erupted like firecrackers. From the shadows of chaos, a second presence emerged. Another figure, a woman, fierce and charging. "Get back," she shouted, fierce determination cutting through the darkness. Emma gasped. Was that Lily? Nathan's once estranged sister? The one who had left years ago to pursue activism? The one they never talked about? "Lily!" Nathan's voice cracked. Panic surged through him, revealing the depth of their untold history. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to end this," Lily cried, holding something in her hand, something that glimmered ominously. "The truth spreads faster than you think." A collective gasp spread through the room. Everyone waited, breathless, as the pieces began to align in a way no one expected. The tension shifted, reality unraveling at the seams. Emma could hardly breathe, heart racing, mixing disbelief with the electric thrill of impending chaos. What truth, she wondered, leaning in closer, desperate for the answer. Would everything she believed about Nathan come crashing down? What untold stories lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed? Lily's presence transformed the narrative, whipping up a storm that threatened to engulf every life in that boardroom. The room pulsed with suspense, the story teetering on the edge of something monumental, waiting for the next blow, ready to change everything forever. The room felt like it was about to explode. Emma couldn't tear her eyes away from the figure standing there. "Lily, the truth spreads faster than you think," she said, holding something shiny up. A flash drive glinting in the dim light. A surge of adrenaline raced through Emma's veins. This wasn't just about Nathan anymore. The whole foundation was shaking. You don't understand what you're doing, Lily. Nathan's voice cracked, a mix of anger and fear. He stepped back, seeking the wall behind him for stability. You're making a mistake. Am I? Lily shot back, defiance sharp in her tone. The tension grew thick. Every employee's breath caught, hearts pounding. But it's not just that, Jack interjected, waving his arms in urgency. It's bigger. It's about everything, everyone. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the room. Emma spun around, eyes wide. The door burst open again. This time, it wasn't just chaos, it was an army. Security guards rushed in, uniforms crisp against the blurred background of panic-stricken faces. Everyone stay calm, one of them shouted, but the sound fell flat against the rising chaos. In the whirlwind, a woman appeared. She surged past the guards, fierce determination in her eyes. Emma's heart sank. It was Amanda, Nathan's final executive assistant, someone who had vanished after raising concerns over their practices months ago. What are you doing here? Nathan barked, the man who once wore the crown, now stripped bare. You think you can shut me out forever, Nathan? Amanda's voice rang with power, raw and trembling. You're falling apart, and I'm here to expose you. With that, she pulled a stack of documents from her bag, holding them like a shield. This tells everything. The lies, the money chained in corruption. You've built this empire on theft. Emma felt her insides twist into knots. The first crack in Nathan's polished armor began to unravel. She could see the fear pooling in his eyes, and it twisted something within her. No, you have no proof, he protested. But desperation seeped through his words, and the room trembled with doubt. Before he could say anything else, the lights flickered dangerously. An eerie buzz filled the air. And just when Emma thought it couldn't get any crazier, the hum intensified. Then, the ground shook. Low, rumbling tremor that stole the breath from her lungs. Earthquake? Someone shouted. Panic rising like tidal waves. No, it's not that. It's... Jack's words faded as the floor beneath them cracked. A sharp scream pierced the air, echoing like a haunting melody. Then it happened. An explosion of color erupted from the walls. A blinding flash, vibrant and surreal, with papers swirling in a chaotic dance. But they weren't just papers. They were their lives, their truths unfurling in raw splendor. And with this, everything comes crashing down, Amanda shouted as she threw a handful of glittering documents into the air. But this was no ordinary explosion. It was an implosion of secrets buried deep, pulling them inward, collapsing the walls of truth they built around them. Emma's heart raced. She couldn't breathe. The swirling chaos of colors turned dark, consuming everything. Shouts ceased. Faces twisted in shock as the truth twisted around them, binding their fates tighter. And in the thick of this surreal storm stood Nathan, stripped of his bravado, the layers of lies peeling away before their very eyes. Emma felt her stomach drop. Was he a puppet all along, or had he been the puppeteer? Then, just as quickly as it started, silence fell. The colors faded, leaving a void that felt heavier than any secret. Emma's eyes fixed on Nathan's pale face, the mask shattered, and for the first time, she saw something real, something broken. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, a voice rang out from the shadows, deep, confident, unsettling. You thought you could escape me, Nathan? You've always been good at hiding the truth, but here I am, to bring it all back. Emma froze. Who was this? She felt the collective gaze of everyone shift toward the darkness where the voice emerged, uncertainty gnawing at her insides. What more could possibly unravel? And as the light began to return, washing over the wreckage of their lives, she realized nothing would ever be the same again. The past was clawing its way back, and they were going to pay dearly for every choice made. What had they awakened? What darker truths lingered in those shadows, ready to consume them all? The atmosphere crackled with tension, every eye darting between Nathan and the dark-haired figure emerging from the shadows. Emma's heart raced, pounding loudly in her ears. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows, amplifying the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. "Who the hell are you?" Nathan demanded, his voice low, a tremor betraying the confidence he once held. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face twisted with contempt. It was Mark, the ex-CFO, who had vanished after whisperings of embezzlement swirled around the company like a toxic cloud. "Surprised to see me, aren't you?" he sneered, revealing the sharp, cold edge of his smile. "You thought you could bury me with your lies, Nathan, but here I am." Back from the dead, gasps filled the room. Every employee held their breath, faces painted with shock and disbelief. Emma felt her stomach sink. This was not just an old rivalry resurfacing. It was an eruption of buried chaos, ready to swallow them all whole. "What do you want?" Nathan shot back, but his bravado was slipping, panic flickering in his eyes. "I want the world to know exactly who you are," Mark replied, his voice dripping with malice. "Your empire isn't built on success, it's built on treachery. I'm here to expose you all." And then, he pulled out a small device, pressing a button. The lights shimmered as screens suddenly sprang to life around the boardroom. Emma's heart dropped as images flooded the walls. Dozens of emails, financial statements, and documents showcasing illicit deals flashed before her eyes. The evidence was there, bending the truth into something grotesque. "No! Stop this!" Nathan shouted, his composure crumbling into shards. Emma's vision blurred with each slide that passed, betrayal pooling in her gut. They showed rigged contracts, hidden accounts, everything Nathan had done to climb to the top. It was like watching the disintegration of everything she thought she understood about him, and herself. "Is this what you wanted?" Mark hissed, leaning closer as if to savor Nathan's unraveling. "Do you still want to pretend you're above it all?" The room erupted into chaos. Employees scrambled to back away from the screens, whispers escalating into a roar. Emma felt dizzy, every word a punch to her gut. She'd admired Nathan's brilliance, thought he was just misunderstood. But this was different. This was the raw, filthy truth. Just as she tried to process it all, the door swung open. In charged a group of people wearing vivid colors, their energy electric. It was the activists from Lily's organization. "We're here for justice," one of them shouted, grabbing the attention of everyone in the room. "Justice?" Nathan sneered. "Fighting to regain control. You think you can come here and—" But they marched past him, eyes aflame with purpose. "We know everything, Nathan. Your dirty deals, your deceit. You can't hide anymore." Emma felt her chest tighten as they moved into the center of the room, confronting Mark and Nathan with resolve. In the whirlwind of chaos, she saw the moment Lily stepped forward, her earlier bravado replaced with something more fierce. "Enough!" Lily's voice rang out, solid and unwavering. But just as she was about to speak, a loud crash came from the outside. The windows shattered, shards flying in like a storm. Screams erupted. And then, a sudden explosion. Not just of sound, but of light and energy. The walls shook violently, and Emma instinctively shielded her face. Everything around her transformed into chaos, as the very ground beneath them seemed to give way. Nathan staggered back, panic etched on his expression. "What now?" he shouted, but the noise drowned out his voice, the chaos swirling like a tempest. Amidst the explosion, something, a flash, a silhouette amidst the debris, hurtled towards her. Emma couldn't move, paralyzed by confusion and fear. There in the midst of the madness stood Nathan, a shocked expression, his true self revealed in the flickering lights. But it was the moment his hand shot out toward her that sent a jolt through her nerves. "Emma, get down," he yelled, and before she could react, the world exploded in fire and smoke, consuming their reality in a dazzling yet terror-filled abyss. What had just happened? Who was truly in control? As the chaos swallowed them, one haunting question clawed at Emma's mind. Was Nathan still the man she thought he was? Or was he something much darker? The explosion echoed through the boardroom like a thunderclap. Emma felt the heat wash over her. the shockwave pushing her hard against the wall. For a moment, everything turned to chaos. Alarmed shouts, people scrambling, that wild adrenaline rush of survival. Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just about Nathan anymore. It was about them all, wrapped in a whirlwind of their worst fears coming to life. Nathan stood frozen, eyes wide, trapped in a moment of pure panic. He finally looked human, stripped of the facade he'd built so carefully. Emma felt a twinge of compassion, like someone had peeled away the layers to reveal a scared boy behind a mask of certainty. But then, as she glanced around, the sense of dread tightened her chest. What had been unleashed? Mark grinned, savoring the chaos. It was riveting, as if he'd orchestrated every moment. And now, Nathan, your kingdom of lies crumbles. Just watched it explode, he taunted. Nathan glared, anger and fear twisting his features. We need to get out, Jack yelled, scrambling toward the door, pulling others with him. But the entrance was blocked. Guards moved in, panic setting between them and the doorway, a suffocating pressure building. Stop, someone shouted, though who said it was lost in the chaos. Emma felt her heart race, uncertainty pouring in. Everyone was backing away from the screens, swirling with incriminating evidence, eyes darting, as if they could escape. The reality unfolding. Then something caught her eye. Amidst the confusion, in the far corner of the room, Lily was moving quickly. Her face a mix of determination and something else. Was it fear? Everyone, listen, she shouted, voice cutting through the frenzy. We need to take the evidence before it gets lost. Before she could finish, the whole place shuddered again. The blast of heat radiated. Emma instinctively ducked. What now? Someone whimpered. Get down, Nathan shouted, reaching for Emma as the walls buckled. His hand brushed against her arm. That touch sent a jolt through her, igniting something. Was it fear, or a flicker of something deeper? She couldn't think about that now. Then, out of nowhere, a brilliant flash. It lit the chaos like daylight, illuminating Nathan's face in stark contrast. And just at that moment, a figure appeared, stepping in from the chaos, seemingly unaffected by the blast. Tall, imposing, with an air of authority that demanded attention. Enough, the figure commanded, flawless clarity slicing through the chaos. Emma squinted, trying to make out the features. And then it hit her, a rush of recognition. It was Elizabeth, Nathan's estranged mother, the woman who had disappeared from their lives when Nathan rose to power, swept away in whispers of scandal. What are you doing here? Nathan veered, shock spiraling into disbelief. I'm here to finish what you started, Nathan, she stated, voice steady, yet laced with unyielding pressure. You think you can erase me? You think you can play God without consequences? Emma's heart dropped. Everything she had thought about Nathan crumbled again. This was more than a corporate betrayal. It was a family fracture lying at the heart of everything. Elizabeth looked around, her gaze piercing through everyone like knives. You can't hide from your past, Nathan. It will always come back to haunt you. The tension crackled, the weight of her words thick in the air. Employees murmured amongst themselves, fear rippling through the room. Emma felt the gravity of the moment, each secret unraveling faster than she could grasp it. Could Nathan's empire collapse on his mother's return? Mom, stay out of this, Nathan shouted, desperation clawing at his voice. I can't, Nathan, Elizabeth replied, disappointment simmering just beneath the surface. Look at what you've become. You're not the man I raised. The atmosphere shifted, as if everyone held breath. Emma wrestled with the surge of guilt, the swirl of emotions tearing at her, confusion and clarity paving a jagged path ahead. But just as Nathan seemed ready to fight back, another explosion rocked the room. This one was different. The lights flickered and then went out entirely, plunging them into a suffocating darkness. In the silence that followed, a voice cut through, soft yet unnervingly familiar. Nathan, it's time to face the truth, together. And in that moment, when the walls felt like they would close in, Emma knew something monumental had shifted. The ties that bound them all were far deeper, far darker than she had imagined. Whose truth would surface in the ashes of all these revelations? And what other pieces of this sinister puzzle lay hidden, waiting to emerge from the shadows? The silence became deafening as the last words lingered in the air. Emma stood frozen, heart racing, darkness closing in around them. Elizabeth's voice echoed in her mind. Time to face the truth, together. But what truth? Then, with a crack like thunder, the room erupted in chaos once again. A surge of energy pulsed from the center, like a bomb detonating deep within them. The screens blared ominously, flashing images of stock prices crashing and countless notifications blipping in rapid succession. Every warning signal was blinding. Emma's pulse quickened. What was happening? "Everyone, we need to get out," Lily shouted, her eyes fierce with determination, but even her voice quivered slightly as the ground seemed to tremble beneath them. But before she could move, something flickered in the shadows. A figure stepped out, cloaked not just in darkness, but in authority. "Stay where you are." Emma squinted through the haze of confusion. It was him, the head of security, Mr. Adams. He had always been Nathan's shadow, lurking behind the scenes, too often overlooked. But now his eyes glowed with something she had never seen before. Anger mixed with fear. "Mr. Adams, what's going on?" Nathan barked, struggling to maintain control. But the man's face twisted unexpectedly, revealing a mix of contempt and desperation. "You think this is the way?" He waved a hand, indicating all of them piled in the boardroom. "Do you think you can just escape the consequences? You have no idea how deep this goes." And just like that, a thought struck Emma. She had witnessed betrayal, deceit, but what was this? How could it get deeper? Then, with unexpected speed, Adams surged forward, pulling a string of evidence from his pocket. Files, documents, all swirling into view. Emma's breath hitched as she leaned closer. "What are you doing?" she questioned, panic creeping up her spine. "What you don't understand," he said, voice low, "is that you're part of a bigger game than any of you ever thought." And then it happened. With a sudden flick of his wrist, he activated something, a device, a whistle, a signal. Flashing lights erupted in the room, illuminating everyone's faces, reflecting their disbelief. The guards outside were startled, glancing at each other with uncertainty. Emma felt the floor shake beneath her, and then she heard it. A soft, rhythmic thumping, growing louder, like the beating of a drum. And then the door burst open in a flurry. A swarm of armed officials rushed in, their faces stern, resolute. Everyone on the ground, hands up. The room erupted into chaos. Emma ducked instinctively, adrenaline clawing at her. "What is going on?" she shouted over the noise. Adams stood, hands raised. "You need to. Listen, the truth is that Nathan isn't just the CEO. He's been playing both sides. This company is under investigation for more than just embezzlement." Nathan's face paled, and for the first time since this storm began, he looked utterly lost. "What are you talking about?" Adams wasn't finished. "You sold the company to cover the losses. I didn't just work for you. I was keeping things in line, and now it's all about to collapse. You're about to lose everything you built." Emma's stomach twisted. Memories of their conversations filled her mind. The passion, the drive, and now this betrayal? Could Nathan really have orchestrated it all? Suddenly, the man she thought she knew felt like a stranger. And then, through the confusion, Emma caught sight of Lily moving toward the front, face fierce but ashen. "This has gone too far. You have to stop this, all of you." But it was too late. The officials moved in closer, one finally catching Nathan's gaze. "You're under arrest for conspiracy and fraud." And in that moment, everything shifted. The walls caved in around Nathan, the facade crumbling completely. Emma felt the pain twist inside her. She had stood for this man, ought he was misunderstood. But here, did she even know who he was? Just as Nathan opened his mouth to protest, a gunshot rang out, a deafening sound. A blinding light flared. Then, everything went dark. What had just happened? Was Nathan truly guilty, or was there more? And who fired that shot? The uncertainty loomed like a thick fog, questions swirling in Emma's mind as reality hung on a precipice, waiting to unravel even further. What was the truth she had yet to uncover? The shot echoed like a curse, reverberating through the chaos. The world around Emma turned chaotic and surreal. She ducked instinctively, heart racing like a wild drum. Time twisted. The aftermath unfolded in slow motion. Light flickered, illuminating faces frozen in shock. Nathan seemed to crumble, a figure sprawled on the floor, a mix of disbelief and despair cascading over him. Emma's heart cracked open. Was he hope? Was this truly the end? But as the pandemonium swirled, something unexpected happened. A loud laugh pierced the tension, a sound sharp and cruel. Every head snapped in the direction of the voice, an unexpected player stepping out of the shadows. It was another familiar face, one she never thought she'd see again. Surprise? Did you miss me? It was Alex, Nathan's rival, the one who had been ousted from the company. The one rumored to be deep in the shadows of corporate secrets. "What are you doing here?" Nathan gasped, panic rising in his voice. "You shouldn't be here." "Shouldn't? Darling, I came to witness the greatest show on earth." Alex laughed, spinning slowly, taking in the reactions of stunned employees. "Look at you all watching a king fall from his throne. This is rich." Emma's heart sank. Everything she thought she understood shattered like glass. Had Alex orchestrated this chaos? Is this what the rumors were about? "I'm here for the truth, your truth," Alex spat, narrowing his eyes on Nathan. "And I'm loving every minute of it." In that moment, the reality of what was happening crashed into her. The tension shifted again. "Nathan, was this all part of a bigger game?" Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "Emma!" Nathan protested, desperation clawing at him. "You have to believe me, I didn't." But Alex interrupted, marching toward Nathan like a predator closing in on its prey. "Didn't what? Didn't know? Or didn't care? You've made your bed, and now we're all here to watch you lie in it." A sudden hush fell over the room, the buzz of confusion replaced by anxious murmurs. Emma searched Nathan's face, desperate for some sign of innocence. The past few weeks flashed before her, every moment they had shared, hoping for a change in him. But now, was he involved in something deeper than she thought? Yet just when Emma thought the spiral couldn't go deeper, Nathan's mother, Elizabeth, pushed forward. The tumult faded into silence as she glared at Alex with an intensity that made everyone shudder. "You don't get to play judge here. You're just as guilty." In that moment, silence reigned. Emma's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice shaking. "What did you do?" "Everything," Elizabeth shouted. "You think you know the whole story? Nathan was my downfall, but you don't realize. I helped him every step of the way. I planned the very foundation he stands on. And now it's all playing out just like I envisioned." Shockwaves crashed through the room. Emma felt bile rise in her throat. This wasn't just about Nathan anymore. It was a family saga rife with betrayal, a web spun much tighter than she ever imagined. "Are you saying you created this mess?" Emma shouted, bewildered at how deep the roots ran. "Yes," Elizabeth hissed. "Nathan grew into a puppet, just like I trained him. And you always wanted to believe your fairy tale. But this is no fairy tale." Nathan's face twisted as the reality slammed into him. "Mom, no," he yelled, disbelief spilling over. The walls felt like they were closing in, evacuating breaths from every corner. Emma's mind raced. Everything she thought she built with Nathan began to crumble. What other secrets lurked in the shadows? As the chaos seeped in, a thunderous crashing noise shook the room again, commanding attention, enveloping them in a cloud of uncertainty. And in that moment, with the ground beneath their feet shifting like quicksand, Emma felt the weight of the world bearing down. Who could she trust now? What truths remained to unearth? The tension snapped like a live wire, and just as the dust settled, she realized they were standing on a playground of hidden dangers waiting to explode. What horrors waited for them in the dark recesses of this tangled tale? The chaos settled into a tense silence, hearts racing and breaths held. Emma felt the weight of the truth crashing down all around her. Elizabeth's admission hung in the air like a storm cloud, too heavy to ignore. Nathan stood there, caught in a whirlwind of betrayal, his past erupting in front of him like a volcanic explosion. "I did what I thought I needed to do," Nathan shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "You don't understand, Mom. This company, it was everything. Everything built on lies," Elizabeth fired back, eyes blazing. "You lost yourself in this pursuit of power, and now it's time to face the consequences." But just as Emma felt the fever pitch of the argument rising, the ground beneath them shook violently again. The windows cracked further, warning lights flickering ominously as police officials rushed in with urgency. The guards' unwavering glances were now filled with both determination and hesitance. "Step away from Nathan Parker," one shouted, gun drawn, muscles tense, eyes scanning the scene. It felt like a showdowns in movies, but reality held them all hostage. The weight of every unsaid word hung in the air. "No, you can't do this," Emma cried out, rushing forward. Nathan turned to her, eyes wide, fear washing over his face. "Emma, just stay back," he pleaded. But she couldn't. Not now. "It's time to take responsibility," one officer said. Eyes locked on Nathan, voice steady like the steel of a blade. "You're required for questioning." The room held its breath as he was cuffed, and a wave of emotions crashed over Emma. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Betrayal, pain, loss, all of it surged through her as though she were caught in the center of a storm. "Emma, please," Nathan struggled out. "You have to believe me, I wasn't always like this. I had to fight to survive." "Survive?" Emma's voice shook, tears brimming in her eyes. "At what cost, Nathan? To break everything and everyone around you?" But as the officers guided him away, Emma finally felt the air clear. Mark and Alex exchanged smug glances, but she turned to face Lily, whose gaze was resolute. "You did good, Emma. You showed strength." In that moment, something shifted. The remnants of despair gave way to hope. This was messy, chaotic, but the truth had emerged from the shadows. As the officers led Nathan out, he turned back for one last look, the weight of his choices evident, full of regrets. "I'm sorry," he shouted, voice echoing in the hall, and with that he was gone, leaving behind a storm of confusion. The reality of his downfall loomed over them, but inside, Emma felt a flicker of clarity. With each turn, life promised junk and shame, but also freedom. Wrapping her arms around herself, she knew this was a new chapter, one of healing, truth, and resilience. Surrounded by those who cared, they could rebuild what had been lost. They could face the future together. As the chaos began to settle, Emma looked toward the horizon, the sunlight breaking through the clouds. Maybe she could finally breathe again. But as they began to step outside into the light, something brushed against her, a whisper of hope. She turned to see the universal bond between those standing by her. These connections had survived the worst, and now they'd stand united. And finally, for every soul who had suffered, she whispered, "Let's make sure this never happens again." Everyone nodded, their faces determined, ready to pave a way forward. And in that moment, beneath the heavy rubble of past mistakes, they found strength in each other. Now was the time. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will take you on thrilling journeys. You have to subscribe right now so you don't get left behind. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm and make sure these stories reach more fans. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Your voices matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all ends. This is the moment to show your support.